Caryville Board and Mayor and Alderman order. Please call the roll.
Miss Heatherly. Here. Mr. Eric Smith.
Here.
Miss Beth Lawson. Here. Mr. Gibson.
Here.
Mr. Roy Lawson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Smith.
Here. Here, will you lead us in prayer?
Pray, yes, please. Our blessed Lord, as we begin to bow our heads before we give you thanks and praise for the blessings been poured upon us. I ask, pray God, go with us throughout the remainder of this night. Bless us, be a light and some soul to thy will. Give us the wisdom to pursue into thy word. Fear God, we ask and pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, the next item is approval of August minutes. Everybody had a good chance to overlook them. If there's any corrections we need to do to them. Everybody have a chance to read it? Have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as works.
There's a second.
Second motion.
Call the roll, please.
Miss Heatherly.
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith.
Yes.
Miss Beth Lawson.
Yes.
Mr. Gibson.
Yes.
Mr. Roy Lawson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith.
Yes. That brings us down to citizen input. Anybody have anything to say?
I'd like to just ask one question. Does the city, for any reason, put down and spread gravel in private driveways or around any businesses? Would there be any reasoning for that? Like emergency or sickness or something like that?
David, can you answer that for me, please?
Not that I'm aware of,
Not that you-
back up to the early 90s, they used to gravel about 15 feet, but they stopped that.
They
about
stopped
the
that.
early 90s.
Ed, one time we was working up on Cotton Hill, and they were working on ditch line, and we actually scraped some gravels off of their driveway and made a mud hole, and we had to go back and put some gravels back on that driveway. It was only like maybe 20 feet or so.
Well, the one I was thinking about, I thought maybe if the gravel run down, washed out of their driveway onto the road, maybe that was for instance, where you could do it. And I think I saw something like that happen.
Yeah, that happened right there on Jackson Road.
Yep. And I thought there was probably a reason, but I just wondered why.
That was the reason.
So I've got my answer. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Communication, Mayor, I had to talk to him, so I don't have anything. We'll go into financial report. Will you please read it?
As of August the 31st, 2015, the general fund had a bank balance of $440,013. Special fire protection fee reserved was $29,189.80. Reserved for the rainy day fund is $45,000. Reserved for garbage truck, $30,000. And that brings a total of adjusted general fund as $335,810.33. State Street Aid has $132,123.88. Industrial fund has $1,188.36. Drug fund has $7,840 with a grand total of $581,152.37. And the revenue for the month was $125,554.79. Expenditures were $93,614.11, with a difference to the good of $31,940.68.
You've heard the report. I hear a motion to accept it.
Make a motion, accept it.
Second.
Any comments on it? Call the roll.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Swift? Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Reports from the council members. If you want to go first, you have anything? Eric?
The fire report for fire department for the last month, we had 3 auto accidents with injury. 17 men responded for 2.5 hours. 3 without accidents without injury, 15 men for 4 hours. Had 1 vehicle fire, had 1 man respond for roughly an hour. And received mutual aid once. And the tractor trailer fire, we had 1, had 2 men respond for half an hour. Had 6 false alarms, 16 men for 3.5 hours. Assisted EMS for 1 call, 1 man for half an hour. Set up the landing zone for Lifestar 3 times, had 10 men for an hour and a half. Total of 18 calls, 62 men responded with a total of 176 man hours.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
I do want to say that the industrial park at 141, that road did get paved up there, and it looks nice. And I'd just like to say thank you to the commissioners for helping us out on that.
Yes.
I
I know
haven't
it's
seen
a
it.
temporary fix, but it's nice for right now.
It's a lot better than it was. Beth?
All right, with the library, we had, I'll read her report first, and then she also has a thing in here where, where she has, it's in y'all's packet, it's a, where we have to approve payment for her yearly maintenance. Oh, it's on the bottom, okay. I didn't realize it was on the bottom, sorry, I didn't go that far. Okay, let's see. Checkout items were 1,419, and check-in items were 1,097, for a total of 2,516 items across their desk. E-books were 211. They added 5 new patrons. Let's see. Computer users were 579. Interlibrary loans were 14, borrowed were 30, children programs held 40, children programs and people in attendance were 73, total people that visited the library were 907, and Robin attended 2 webinars for data collection and reports, and Verso reports for data collection during the month.
Okay. Town of Caryville Police Department monthly report for the month of August. We had 289 complaints. We have 6 arrests, 28 citations. We patrolled 10,472 miles. We had 1 drug arrest and 1 DUI and 18 accidents. And that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Lord?
On street department and sanitation garbage, we had 52 tons, recycling 3 tons, brush 17 tons. Picked up brush throughout the city, patched potholes throughout the city. Lined the ditch at Gardner Lane, mowed throughout the city, cut the limbs, out of the road on Maple Street, Oak Street, Depot Lane, Hill Lane, Bruce County Road, West Low Street, Loop Road, and Crutchfield Lane. And like Vicky said, the paving did get done at 141, it's just a temporary fix right now. It looks good. And we put the flags up on Asbury Park and City Hall, new flags. And the Christmas lights came in, and David's working with Lafayette Utility. They're going to put the pigtails on for us and get those fixed up and have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Recycling keeps coming, I'm sorry.
How long have they been?
Well, they've been, a month, 3 weeks.
A good 3 weeks.
So people can actually come and pick them up?
Call in and we'll deliver.
Okay.
And are we gonna try to have the Christmas lights up by Thanksgiving? Is that our goal? Thank you. I do. I have this brochure also, I don't know if this is the time or not, for the Halloween stuff. It was in my mailbox. We do the thing for the trunk or treat thing. So we need to talk about that sometime, whether we need to add it or what.
Need to add it to the
So,
agenda.
to discuss that.
You want to add that to the agenda?
Yes, please.
I hear that motion to add this,
I make a motion to add
the trunk or treat.
the trunk or treat.
I'll second the motion.
Here a second. Any discussion? All in, please.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. All I have is this, the monthly rental from the utilities is $504.43, so it's running around $500 a month from the utilities. The planning commission didn't meet this month, and we don't have anything right now. And the 141 is, as you know, if you've been up there, you've seen TA has started moving dirt up there. Wilco Hess is supposed to be breaking ground soon. Well, I still call it Wilco Hess, because Speedway now. And everybody's hoping to be in open by end of the year. So it's gonna be
Fast and Furious.
supposed to be. We'll see. Anything else?
I'd just like to say we need to remember Ann Marlowe, who is our part-time librarian assistant. Her mother passed away, so just remember her family.
Sawinski?
Oh, yes, and yes, Jamie Sawinski, who was the reporter that would come into our meetings, they found her, who passed away over the weekend, so.
Anything else? Going to old business? Anything else for old business? Let's go to new business. Number 1. William Brown to discuss approved state 2013 final report analysis of implement of to fair housing choice. How, William?
It's not my wording.
I stopped right there. That's getting all the way down there.
Well, I'm gonna discuss that anyway, so, you're probably saying, well, why am I here taking up about 15 minutes of your agenda to discuss fair housing? Well, the reason is you have received a CDBG in 2014, and every CDBG project that you've ever had has had to do a fair housing activity. So in order, and this is going to be your fair housing activity to listen to what the fair housing law is and what the state's 2013 analysis of impediment study results were for fair housing. And I have an outline and a package there before you to go by that I laid on your desk area previously. We can maybe move yours around. That's it. So this project, as I indicated, is for the East Maple Street, Park Place, and Bruce Gap Road project. HUD requires that all funded projects, whether it's by CDBG or the home program, comply with the federal requirement of fair housing and related to fair housing and discrimination. Your previous program activities that we've undertaken here over the years, and I can only remember 3, but I'm sure we've had a lot more than the 3 that I'm going to talk about. I mean, we've had the passage of the Fair Housing Ordinance. We have publication of the Fair Housing Resolution in the paper declaring, I think, March or April Fair Housing Month. We've done that. And I think I know we've sent letters to local real estate and landlords with literature promoting fair housing opportunities and letting them know what the fair housing law is. So this is going to be your activity for the 2014 CDBG. And I'll remind you, come when it's time to do one for the other project on the mountain, we'll have to come up with another activity for that particular project. The basis of the fair housing law and the state's AOI, which is the, did I get that down wrong? Analysis of impediment for fair housing. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits exclusions from participation in, denial of benefits of, and discrimination on the federally assisted programs on the grounds of race, color, or national origin. The intent of the law is to ensure that all persons, regardless of race, color, or national origin, are afforded the opportunity to participate in federally funded programs. Now, THDA, and I think CDBG, ECD has now taken on, as the state agencies, steps to affirmatively further fair housing in Tennessee and to ensure that all programs are free of discrimination. In 1968, the Act title was amended, there was passage of the Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which amended prohibits discrimination in the sale, rental, or financing of dwellings and other housing-related transactions. Now, you probably want to know, well, what is that? Related housing. That's going to be any loans made by financial institutions or any Section 8 kinds of housing that's done. And I think I have something else that goes further into that. And then, so therefore, any acts made, any of the fair housing, if you're not in compliance, it's illegal to discriminate in the buying, selling, or renting of a home because of a person's race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. And then it was also amended in 1974, which added sex as a protected class and familial status, which means that any person seeking housing that has children under the age of 18, whether they're married, single, or pregnant, that they cannot be discriminated against because they have children in terms of the provision of housing. Okay, so you said, well, how as a community do we recognize what housing discrimination is when it's based on color or national origin or religion, elderly or veterans, etc.? Because the list keeps going, getting longer and longer as we come up, as Congress comes up and HUD comes up with other areas in which they consider a basis of discrimination. It says, number one, if you're refusing to rent or sell a home to a certain individual based on the items I just mentioned because of their color and all of that, saying that housing is unavailable when in fact it is available to certain people. And I remember when I was going through this, when I lived in West Tennessee, I called about an apartment that was available, and the guy said, oh yes, it's available. So I show up, and it wasn't available. I didn't know it. Didn't really know at the time that I was being discriminated against, but it was not available. Showing apartments or homes only in certain neighborhoods, that's when you're directing people to certain areas of the community because you don't want them in the greater community. And a lot of times, banks will only provide loans in certain areas, and I don't know if you've heard of the familiar term redlining, where they only provide loans in this particular area and this particular area. So that, again, is discrimination based on setting different terms and conditions or privileges for the sale or rental of a dwelling, providing different housing services or facilities, advertise housing to preferred groups or people only. And I would think in that instance, I don't know if you've ever seen any here in the area, but there used to be advertisements, no children allowed, or of a certain age renting. But I think that there are some areas, because we do have assisted living, and I do one day want to be in an area where it's just people who are a certain age. But that in itself would not be discriminatory. Refusing to provide information regarding mortgage loans, deny a mortgage loan, or impose different terms or conditions on a mortgage loan, deny property insurance, conduct property appraisals in a discriminatory manner, refusing to make reasonable accommodations for persons with a disability, if the accommodations may be necessary to afford that person access to that dwelling unit. Now that I'm particularly in all buildings, public buildings, they are required to be ADA compliant, which means that they have to be handicap accessible. Not only physically, but blind and everything else in terms of meeting that requirement. Failure to design and construct housing, I guess I jumped ahead, in an accessible manner. Harass, coerce, intimidate, or interfere with anyone exercising or assisting someone else with his or her fair housing rights. Then the executive order, now I have attached in your package the executive summary of the state's 2013 analysis to fair housing, analysis of impediments to fair housing. Up until 2013, each individual community had to prepare, or each county, and I prepared them for Caryville, Jellicoe, Jacksboro, and Follett combined. We would combine that, but each community was responsible for preparing their own housing of impediment, analysis of impediment to fair housing. But in 2013, the state took that on as a state project, which eliminated that from having to be done at the local level. There were public meetings across the state that were held by the state. There was one in Knoxville, Jackson, as well as in Nashville. And the comments received focused on housing availability, particularly for seniors and disabled persons, as well as some of the neighborhood and city government level resistance to such housing. Now, in terms of the public involvement, the activities included in the 2013 Fair Housing Survey. There was a survey for the public that the state performed to evaluate current fair housing efforts, and the 3 fair housing forums wherein citizens were afforded a chance to comment. The feedback of the initial findings showed that the majority felt that fair housing laws are useful, whereas some respondents were not even familiar with fair housing law, and a few respondents showed familiarity with the classes of persons protected by fair housing law in the state. And many of the respondents were not aware of appropriate venues to which to review a victim of housing discrimination. That's why you'll see posted somewhere in here your civil rights and where to go and get information, because that's one of the requirements, so that when the public come in, they can see that. And there's also a brochure that they can provide it. Of the respondents who answered the question, many noted that the need for increased fair housing education and outreach services activities, and a moderate need was indicated for increased fair housing testing activities. That's where you send somebody out just to see if you're going to be discriminated against. So again, you have your fair housing. So under the fair housing choice, in the 2013 study, the state hired a consultant to facilitate the preparation of the plan, and they also held public meetings and entertained questions and comments from everyone. And so they found throughout the state and from HUD data that the evaluations of home purchase loan applications from 2004 to 2011 showed that there were 318,160 loans originations and 95,366 denials, for an 8-year average loan denial rate of 23.1%. The highest in 2011 at 29.7%. The data showed that American Indians, Blacks, and Hispanic applicants experienced higher rates of loan denials than white or Asian applicants, even after correcting for income. These frequently denied racial and ethnic groups tended to be more disproportionately impacted in such specific areas of the state. And I think those specific areas of the state including like the Memphis area, maybe Nashville, where there's a higher percentage of minority population. I'm not going to go through all my notes, but the analysis of the data from the CRA, they also use Community Reinvestment Act, and that's something banks are supposed to participate in, which if they reinvest monies into minority areas of high income and poverty areas, then they can get some points and therefore some credits. So it's under the Community Reinvestment Act that's used to encourage investment in low and moderate income areas. This showed that business loans did not tend to be directed toward areas of higher poverty, concentrations in the non-entitlement areas. And non-entitlement areas would be all areas outside of Knox County, Blount, Anderson. There's about 9 counties that are called entitlements. So Campbell County is a non-entitlement area. So the fair housing complaint data was requested from HUD and the Tennessee Human Resource. HUD data showed that 572 fair housing related complaints were filed in the state from 2004 through February of 2013. The number of complaints filed varied, ranging from protected classes most impacted by discrimination based on 111 successfully conciliated complaints, where disability and race and the most common complaint issues related to discriminatory terms, conditions, or privileges, discriminatory acts under Section 818, I think that's your Disability Act, failure to make reasonable accommodations, that's also handicap accessibility, and then discriminatory terms, conditions, privileges of services and facilities. But again, I'm talking about the 2013 Fair Housing Survey that was undertaken to prepare the state's analysis of impediment. I'm going to skip on over. To the fair housing in the public sector, which is going to be communities. And most of the other things I discussed primarily related to the private sector. but the analysis of the policies and codes of local and state governments. Now, a lot of times you think, what is it that a municipality, and that's where they found most of potential discriminatory regulations. When you look at your zoning ordinances, you know, we don't think anything about zoning. We just say, well, we want this to be R2, this to be R3. But then you got to look at, well, where are you putting your multifamily housing within those zones? Are you providing ample areas throughout the city in those various zones whereby you're not directing people based on your land use and your zoning ordinance to a particular area? Yeah. Public housing and multifamily housing. Or, you know, if in terms of mentally challenged individuals, again, your zoning ordinance might exclude group housing for mentally challenged people or disabled people. Well, you can't, that's legally something you cannot do. So mostly governments, if they were going to be not in compliance, would be in those areas of their codes in which they have. It says results from the public section of the 2013 Fair Housing Survey revealed that few respondents in non-entitlement areas of the state of Tennessee believe there are problematic practices or policies within the public sector. Some noted land use policies and zoning laws that particularly impact protected class populations, and others suggested that public transit services are lacking, because we don't have to worry about public transit services out here in Kendall County. And in terms of public involvement, it showed that the majority of the respondents felt that fair housing laws are useful, whereas some respondents were not familiar with fair housing law at all. Many respondents not aware of the appropriate venues. I think I've covered that, so I'm not going to repeat that. So we get to, okay, the state has prepared all of these, this huge study that's over 300 and something pages, and I do have a source at the end of your agenda that you can go on the website and look at it in the event that I have piqued your interest in fair housing. So that you might want to read for yourself. But there were some impediments to fair housing that were reported, and I think I've covered pretty much all of those. And some of the actions that the state said that they would undertake to address those impediments was to complete an analysis of impediments to fair housing, and that's what they did. Take actions to overcome the effect of any impediments identified through the analysis, and maintain records reflecting the analysis and actions taken. And I'm going to run, how am I with my time?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to run through because this is something she said that I needed to cover. So, complaints, they had to address all the complaints that were filed with HUD across the state. So in the private sector, the impediments were discriminatory terms and conditions, privileges or services and facilities in the market. That was an impediment that they found in the private sector that hindered fair housing. And so they indicated that they would continue to educate landlords and property managers, and that's why we would send out letters, you know, increase number of outreach and education, and continue to educate housing consumers. The second in the public sector, in the private sector, discriminatory acts under Section 818, that's coercion. I said that was disability. That was one of the things that they found to not be in compliance. And so they said they would address that through continuing education and housing to the consumers, and that they would enhance audit and testing activities. Impediment 3, failure to make reasonable accommodations or modifications. That was a finding. So they're going to enhance audits and testing activities and documents and document the outcomes of the test. And 4, under product, discriminatory patterns in home purchases and loan denials, which I had discussed. They found that to be something that occurred throughout the state. Discriminatory patterns in predatory lending, you know, where someone who, say, low income primarily, who just wants to own a home, and you go and people will give you a loan 4 times higher than what a person with a good credit rating would get. I mean, that's what they call predatory. I think it's predatory lending. I mean, it's just out of the sky what they would charge for that. And it existed in some of the areas within Tennessee, and particularly among Black, American Indians, and Hispanic applicants. Lack of sufficient education about fair housing. I think that's probably true not only of the private sector, but also maybe of the public sector. Okay, the public sector, some of the impediments that were found: lack of local fair housing ordinance or policies, insufficient establishment and enforcement of building codes regarding special housing needs, and lack of local government understanding of duties of the affirmative action program. Now, I don't know, Pat may remember, they do this every year, and I think it's about the 2nd year that ECD has done this. They will email all mayors and administrators a survey to link up that asks questions about affirmative action, so that they would become more familiar with it, and you're prompted to actually go and read to respond to some of the questions. And I think, Pat, we did that this year, and I know we did it last year. So that's one of the things, their objectives of helping to educate and inform local governments. And the 4th thing in the public sector, lack of uniformity of codes and land use policies, and I think I've addressed that when we talked about group housing and other mentally challenged groups. Now, I'll get back to my agenda, but I think I'm about at the end of my agenda where we would have questions regarding their housing, Fair Housing Act, the current projects. Let's talk about the fair housing. Any questions regarding what I've presented?
I've got one for you. Are we in compliance with this ordinance here, of this law? Are we in compliance with it so far?
For all your federal programs, you are in compliance. We have not looked at your zoning ordinance or your land use plan, but I'm sure that local planning is aware of what's discriminatory and not. And I know when I was a planner with local planning, we tried to set up zones that were inclusive, and we tried to catch those things that would be exclusionary.
I'm on the planning commission, and we have done those implements there. We have set restrictions on where certain items can be, multiple families can be. And I think they have to be in R2, which is residential.
But you have more than one R2 zone.
Yeah, we have one R2 zone.
One R2 zone?
We have R1, that's for,
I mean, but in different locations.
yeah, for all around there. I think there's possibility of 2, maybe 3 R2s, and the rest of them are R1s for the residential home, but the R2 is for multiple homes and like duplexes and all.
Right.
So we do have those, and I do know that.
Dwayne, you look like you might have something.
Oh, no.
No, I couldn't have been that super clear. Let's, what?
Is there any potential for us getting a new grant for the housing this year?
At the last workshop, THDA indicated that the funds were going to be cut by Congress, and they would anticipate getting about $500,000 statewide. That's nothing. And in addition to that, the program has changed a lot in that, you know, we used to do reconstruction, which meant new housing replacement. Now it's rehabilitation, and you're limited to $40,000, and it has to be brought up to code. So if a house is deteriorated to the point that you can't bring it up to code, you have to bypass it before we tear it down and build a new one.
Anybody else have questions for Ms. Brown? You want to talk about the grant, how we are progressing on the grant, on the CDBG grant?
The 2014 CDBG, we have advertised that project twice, and we're having it, and we've received no bidders, no interest, no one picked up bids. So we have to re-advertise again, and I think we're gonna wait a little while because a lot of the contract, well, the first one, we got one bid, and we just didn't feel that that was a competitive bid because he knew, the contractor knew he was the only bidder, so he set his own bid amount, pretty much. The second time, we didn't get anybody to pick up plans to bid. So we decided that we would wait a while and let some of the other contractors who seem to be pretty busy at the moment, particularly some of the local contractors, and there are a few in Knoxville, to complete some of their larger projects and maybe look at this one more favorably when we do put it out to bid.
What is the contract?
Timeframe?
Well, no, what exactly is, you're bidding it out?
The scope of work?
Yeah, what is the scope of work?
Oh, you know, we're doing roadway and drainage improvement in Park Place
Okay.
and East Maple Street and Bruce Gap Road. There's, those are the three areas for the 2014 project that we're doing: drainage, roadway improvements, and then some paving.
Okay.
Those are made.
What is the time frame on having this work completed, time for the?
For the 2014 project, it has to be completed by 2017. So
2017.
we do have some time for that project to be completed.
How long are you gonna wait on before you bid it again?
I haven't talked with the engineer. It'll probably be maybe latter part of the month, or sometime in October. But we're getting close to where we're not going to be able to pay if it extends more than 90 days construction time frame.
Any more questions from this?
All these projects bidded out individual,
The three areas, no,
Yeah.
that was one project.
one project.
One project. And the last time we bid that project, we bid Park Place as the base bid. We bid East Maple and Bruce Gap Road as additives, 1 and 2.
Can you not bid them out individual?
We didn't, no, I guess we could, but we didn't do that, not originally.
I know some contractors can do smaller jobs than doing the whole.
Well, I think the way we bid it the second time would allow a contractor to bid one, and then if there's monies available, we can award the second part, and then award third part.
East Maple needs attention.
Yeah, they all do. Yes, but it's, I mean, we have limited funding. The grant was 200 and, I think we were limited to 275,000, and we got 15 extra thousand.
What's the require, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And the city put in about 35,000. I'm thinking off the top of my head, I don't have my
It's
fingers.
about right, 35,000 is about
What the local share was for that
the
project.
sheriff, the local sheriff.
But East Maple is one that needs a lot of work, and so does Park Place. Bruce Gap consists of primarily just a little inlet, a drop off. That's not a major improvement at all. That's why it's third on the list.
I answered my own question.
What? Well, good. That's good.
I thought about it.
Thought about it. Okay.
So on Park Place, if all the money is used on Park Place, then these other projects just get pushed aside?
Pretty much, that's the way it is right now. And we might come, now, even in the second bid, we came back, an engineer redesigned some of the scope in East Maple, trying to reduce the cost of those improvements from the original design. So we're hopeful that maybe we can get it within bid, at least 2 of the areas.
Just talking about the Bruce Gap, road project there, it wouldn't take much to
No,
finish that job.
right, that one we would not be concerned about that as much
All right.
as the other 2. That's,
Park Place is the biggest.
it's, right. You got one more to ask me?
I'm going to hit off what Lloyd was saying there. If we spend all the money on Park Place, even though we apply for the grant for the other 2 places, can we spend the money that way, or do we have to allocate the money for all 3 projects?
You can bid it the way that we talked about, what Park Place did, the base bid, and then add, because they want you to come within the monies that's available, because they have no more money, and you all have no more money. So we can't, you can reduce the scope as long as it's within the total scope.
Okay.
Can you rebid and make Maple Street the best bid?
We could,
There's property damage there, and I don't see property damage in Park Place.
I got one other question for you. If we use them, again, most of the money on Park Place, could the city do as in kind service and maybe do East Maple Street there where the small place that we could the city do that and sort of 35,000 that we're putting up?
use that money to do
Use
that? No, your money becomes part of the total project budget. You could use additional monies. But those, once you put in it as a match, that's total project cost.
Okay. Anybody else got a question for me?
Do we have to wait till we use this grant money up before we can apply for this grant again?
Yes.
We have to use it all up?
Well, you don't want to turn any back, so.
No, but that's what I'm saying, if we need more money, you know,
Well,
how far down the line can we apply for this grant again?
when this one's closed out, that's why we don't normally want to wait until 2017, because you wouldn't be able to apply for another grant until
So if
2017.
we use it up this year, we can apply again for it next year?
You won't be ready next year. But theoretically, yes.
Let's talk about the grant on the mountain, that road, that project.
Okay.
Bring them up to par on that. 'Cause I sat in on the teleconference for that, and the rest of these I did not get to sit in. Could you?
Okay. That project was funded in May of this year with the clock ticking. We had submitted a pre-application, and then one day we got an email, I got an email, and the mayor got an email saying that the project was funded, submit your full application, you do this, you do that, and I think we jumped through all the hoops. We completed the environmental, done that. And what the conference that we sat in on was a technical assistance conference that was with Brooksy Carlton, the director of ECD, where she talked about the requirements of the program, that we had 18 months to complete this project, and then all of the ECD requirements for the disaster grant. The project was funded based on the disasters of 2011 and 2012. And the location of the project is Caryville Mountain at the intersection of Bobcat Road and Mountain Road. It's about 200 or 300 linear feet each direction of the road. just below the caryville Jack Sparrow storage tank, a Bobcat, which we call Lindsay. I don't know how we got Lindsay Woods Road.
I think that's what the subdivision's called, ain't it? Lindsay Woods.
Oh, okay. That's, and then about 200 and 300 linear feet on Mountain Road at that intersection, just beyond the intersection where the palings are falling off toward the church. And so we have 18 months, which we're well into that now, about 3 months. The engineer, which is Urtech, said that we would have plans and specs finished sometime in October. So if we went to bid, and I was thinking maybe we did for both projects, we might have, together we might have more interest, but I'll need to talk with the engineer, with Frank about that. We want to wait that long. But that's pretty much where we are. We're on go as fast as we can get there on the 2011-2012 disaster grant. And that project was there was 100% grant at about 270, maybe 250 something $1,000. I can't, these numbers are kind of cloudy, but I think it's around 250 something $1,000.
If you bid the two projects together, the two grants out together, and the same company got it, which one would you start first? Would you start the one,
Probably on the mountain, because it has to be done next year in 2016.
So that's not even,
Oh, it's not ready to bid yet.
oh, okay,
Oh, it's locked in terms of the funding,
okay.
but it's not locked in terms of having the.
That's what I thought it may have been already bidded out.
No, not yet. That one's in the design.
Okay.
How much longer would it be before you were ready to bid it out?
Well, if they have the plans ready in October, then we could possibly bid in November. But no, they wouldn't be able to pave until, I think we said in the meeting, in the TA conference, that it would be spring possibly
March
paving.
or April?
Yeah.
because, the plant shuts down in the winter, and so.
When do they have done things like that, Larry? April.
So we wouldn't be able to start paving until then.
When the engineers get done, you said Urtech in October.
That's what they told us.
We really need to have a community meeting with them before we go any further, because I've been approached several times about that project. It's going to run into a property issue, I'm afraid, with the church, from what the word's been going through that they spoke with the church. There's just the engineers need to be involved with the community a little bit on that part, as far as where they're looking at as a center right away from the middle, one saying 15, one saying 20. It's an issue there at the church.
Well, I know there was a representative who had attended the public meeting and expressed that concern.
As soon as Urtech could, I'll get a hold of the ones involved in it and let them know.
Like Caryville and Tim Sloan,
I'll get a hold of the ones from the community, because
Oh,
they've been
okay.
asking me about it.
then I'll send him an email. Maybe when he's finished with his preliminary plan, that might be that time to hold the public meeting.
Any other questions for Ms. Brown? I think everybody's through with you.
That 15 minutes extended to 30, didn't it?
Good information.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
It was that.
All right, let's move on to the second agenda. Council to approve $1,100 for the technical support for library circulation. Yes, Beth.
Was it ever? Well, anyways, you guys got a copy of it in your packet. It's for some software that Rob, oh, here it is. It's a circulation software. And she said they budget for it every year, so we just need to approve it so she can purchase it. guess it's already in your budget, right, Robin?
Yes, it is, and it's just a yearly upgrade fee and a tech support fee.
I make a motion that we purchase it.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments on it, questions? Call roll.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Stand ready.
Almost.
Council to approve purchase for the police department from white tires for the police department, for the white tires, amount of $784.16. You got me tickled.
Okay, now these tires, the reason they're quite a bit higher than a normal set of tires, these tires are 18-inch tires. So that throws them in a higher price bracket. So that's
Name
why,
on that, Mr. B.
and they go on the SUV. And we need,
What was state contract on
I
that?
think it was that contract, am I right?
It is.
It is.
Yeah. What did you say there?
I make a motion to approve the purchase for these tires, $784.16.
Second motion.
Motion and second. Any comment? Call roll, please.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson? Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Got that one out. Down to 4, council to approve street department's 2005 L550 for $933 at Harold Mobile Service. It's repaired on it.
This truck here, they've had a lot of drivability problems out of it, running problems. I think you had it checked out, they checked it out, and it's got to have some alternators and sensors and things like that. Wouldn't you,
Yeah, it's gotta have both alternators and both batteries.
batteries, yeah. So it's in pretty rough shape right now, and it's just gonna be probably the money, but I wanna make a motion that we get it repaired at Harold Mobile Repair for $933.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it?
Hey, I can tell you though, I checked it just to see on prices, alternators, 200 on one, 230 on the other one. So the labor's only about $200 on that.
So that's a heavy duty alternator that they're putting on there?
Yeah,
I think it's got two alternators.
yeah, it's got two upper and lower.
Heavy duty?
Yeah. Lifetime warranty, wasn't it, David? Lifetime warranty?
Yeah.
So just because I don't know anything about working on cars, and we discussed this last month about bidding out working on vehicles, is this the
There was
same?
no bids come
Well,
in.
no bid that, they're gonna bid it on it.
I mean, I just wanted to clarify because I didn't understand the whole bidding that out last month, so, okay.
We're trying to save money.
I know, but I didn't know who Harold Repair was either, so I didn't know if they were the ones that got a contract and I didn't know it, or, so.
If their bid had been approved, bid that they come, we would have approved it tonight.
Oh, okay, so.
And also, this is a diesel repair, not a
I'm just making sure, I mean, because that was new to me last month, so.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Just questioning it.
Call roll.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Down to 5, council to approve purchase of 8-foot salt spreader from, is it Geyser Service? In the
Yeah.
amount of $5,401. No bids were received.
I'm gonna let David tell about this here. You was telling me about the hydraulics on those things.
The one we're replacing is the hydraulic one that was on the 2005 truck that we're working on. All right, the hydraulic comes in a 3.0 cubic yards, which is too big for the F-550s. So I was gonna go down to gas, but I don't like those gas ones, so they got an electric one out now at 2.0 cubic yards. And that's, there's $100 difference between it and the gas.
It's $100 higher.
Yeah.
This stainless steel for the,
Yes, stainless. And where the gas one's got a chain, this one's got the auger screw in it.
you got the twin augers under the bottom spreaders, or do you want a single spreader at the bottom?
Single.
I make a motion that we purchase this salt spreader for $5,401 from Geyser Services.
I hear a motion, I hear a second.
Second motion.
Any comments or questions? We're good with it.
As long as we don't have to talk about it again next month, we're good.
I guess I got one on here. Is this the one that you can set in out of the truck, David?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And it is the money in your budget to pay for it.
Is that right?
We got a amend, that's one of those we forgot.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we forgot to,
Put it in the budget.
we had to amend that, we sure did.
Okay.
Yeah. We was gonna do it, when we was doing the budget, we forgot to do it, and we talked about amending it.
Okay. I just asked. All right, call the roll.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Will Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Down to number 6, council to approve advertising for a part-time employee for the street department.
Our part-time guy quit, so
And I don't know if we really
Yeah.
had to put this in here, but I
we're
did.
gonna be needing somebody the rest of this fall pretty bad. I mean, they would've talked about if it was winter time, we might wait till spring, but we really need somebody.
So we have to advertise it for part-time? Okay.
The position available to be advertised.
What would we take applications, or could we go back on our old applications and have?
You would have to put up, take an advertisement out or announcement for applications, because, got that right, Kathy? You would have to go back and read it.
For part-time,
Part-time.
Okay, in that particular situation, it being put back out, and we still have the applications from the past, can they be, the ones from the past be considered?
The applicants from the past? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
I don't see why not.
Do you know if those people are interested?
That's a good question.
What is
Not
the
for
specific
sure.
role?
That's right here,
Street department.
the part-time employee for the street.
What is that role? What is that specific?
They work the garbage truck, they mow, they dig ditches, just a lot of stuff.
If somebody has submitted an application in the past and Pat still has that on file, they could ask for that to be used, but you would need to know the people are interested after the post.
Yeah, we interviewed some people, and
I was just curious.
there's another guy that was, they were kind of equal, pretty close to being equal for the job. And,
But you still have to
I guess,
take the new application. Okay.
I'll make a motion where you advertise for a part-time employee for the street department.
I see.
Application.
Have a motion and a second. Have any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Eric Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Beth Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Will Lawson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. That brings us down to number 7. Council to approve advertising for position in the police department as assistant chief. Mr. Warren.
Okay. it says assistant chief. Now, here's what we got. We have, one of our officers are leaving at the end of this month. And the word is that we're gonna have another one leave here pretty short after that. And, so we need to, I don't think it should just be for an assistant chief. Or do you think, now that's my thinking, or do we, when this other one quits, or whatever, we open it back up for applications then?
You will, because you don't have the position open then. You only, if you got one that's open, that's the only way you can advertise. If you don't have none open, you can't advertise.
But what he's trying to say though, I think is like when Bill was here, he had Johnny as his assistant, and then when Johnny was here, he had Stephanie. And then when Stephanie was here, she had Wes. And then when Brian came on, he doesn't have anybody. So the money is technically still in the pot for an assistant chief, and we don't have one. So we still have money available for the position, but we don't have one. But now we're losing one, possibly two positions. So when he hires, can he hire an assistant chief? Do we advertise for an assistant chief? And then possibly, when the next one leaves, hire for another person?
That's the only way I can see, if I'm right, okay,
Well,
I
I
think that's what
reviewed
he's
the
wanting.
personnel policy. Do y'all know if there's anything in here about an assistant position? Because I didn't find anything. It talks about department head and police officer. And so that designation, I think, would be made within the department. Because I don't find anything, you know, that specifically
specific
talks
job
about
title.
assistant chief. I would think that would be a promotion made within the department.
So we could hire another police officer and then he could choose amongst them who he would like to have
Right.
as
That's
chief.
what I was trying
And
to
then
get at.
Right,
set the pay
because
rate
you-
as an assistant chief. then.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't even have any detectives or sergeants or anything. I think everybody's just straight patrol, right?
We did budget for detective sergeant positions.
I think that is.
I think that's the two positions that he's trying to fill, is
But-
that assistant chief and that.
In all
Detective.
that, we're gonna have people taking a bunch of vacations between now and in the middle of December.
We're gonna be shorthanded and
We're
then
gonna
Brian's
be
going to
very
conference
shorthanded.
You
and
all could approve if another person leaves to go ahead and
just leave Jim and Anthony.
still wait for that meeting.
So, y'all are running one short, right?
Well, if we have one leaving at the end of this month, if another one leaves, then we're gonna have another one that's on relief.
Okay.
So we're gonna be 3 short, actually. So if we had 2 more employees, or at least a part-time, somebody to help,
Yeah,
He
to
said
answer
he'd
your
like to
question, we are one short now, the way it
Right.
stands.
Yes.
So,
I think in that position, he would like to have somebody that had some detective experience and somebody that could kind of step up, you know.
right, but if you post for a police officer position
Mhm.
and consider all of your, whoever would apply for that, and then have the police chief and the mayor look at the personnel policy and let them decide who would be the assistant and if they want to bring it in front of the board. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person they hire. Because you wouldn't necessarily want to bring somebody new in if they're not a heavyweight and put them in over somebody that's been here.
Right.
So I think to answer where you were talking originally,
Uh-huh.
yes, you can just post for a police officer and see what applications you have. And then if you have somebody to leave shortly after that, you could consider that posting because it's so recent.
But the more and less the assistant chief is just something he needs to do within, like, the department and not necessarily post for that. I mean, not necessarily accept applications for that position.
Right, because I was looking through when we started, when I saw that, and I don't see anything in here that designates for an assistant.
Yeah. And usually they just name
Right.
who they want and then adjust the pay scale according to that. Or, you know, we could put something like we said in their budget, we have something for a detective. So he could take the applications and then if there was one that had more qualifications in this area, whatever he's looking for, or this area, whatever, and then come back and say, this is what we have, I'm recommending this person, and I'd like for his duties to be this, such and such and such. Or put down as a police officer, maybe somebody else that's on the, that we already have, that they might want to be moved up or promoted. But it would be like his choice to do.
Right, the police chief,
Because the
he
money's
can
in the
make that
budget.
recommendation to the mayor.
Right.
And of course, then the mayor can always defer to the board. You know, we talked about that before, that a lot of times the board makes the decision because the mayor defers to the board.
So can we go ahead and take applications?
Yes, as for, and Pat can post it as a police officer position.
I make that motion that we advertise for police officer.
Second.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. I guess I got one question, Kathy.
Okay.
We can advertise it, even though we don't have position open. Right now, as right now, we do not have position open until the end of the month. We can do it.
Right, because they can, but you know that you're gonna have a vacancy at the end of the month, so yes, you can definitely go ahead and post.
Okay, what if
We
he
can
comes up
wait.
and decides he's gonna stay? I never thought about that.
Well, then you've got applications, but
Right.
and then when something does come up and available, then we've got some resources.
If
Okay.
you
And
had,
we're not
right, and with
recommending.
the posting so current, you could use those applications for another position if it becomes available next.
Okay, I'll find
This
it.
allows us to get away from the emergency hire that we've done.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, just out of curiosity. Do you have to accept somebody, if they say, oh, by the way, I just changed my mind, I don't want to quit, do you have to accept that? We're an at-will employer.
Correct.
You don't have to accept that, do you?
No.
Because they've already turned in their 2 weeks' notice.
And that would be, under the policy, that would be a decision made by the chief and the mayor. Because
I mean, I don't know,
Right.
I don't even know who it
But
is,
no,
but
you
I'm just
don't.
saying.
You don't have to.
Because when you said, what about if they change their mind, I'm thinking, well, now you've already turned your 2 weeks' notice in, you know,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I didn't think that you had to, like, if they changed their mind at the very last day and say, oh, by the way, I'm gonna stay, after we went through the process, you don't have to accept that and
Right.
say, okay, well,
An at-will employer can terminate a person for a good reason, a bad reason, or no reason at all, as long as they do not discriminate under the law.
right.
Any more questions? All right.
Ms. Heatherly?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Bethany?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd Lawson? Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Brings us down to number 8, council to discuss early warning system for the city.
I had that put on there because with all the storms and everything that's been going through and tornadoes, we as a city do not have any type of warning system. And I know everybody, you know, we talked before, and we do have these cell phones, and a lot of people, like I know I have mine on WBIR or some news thing, and I will get notifications sometimes though, like the other night, it says lightning's in your area. Well, it had been lightning for about 5 or 6 minutes already, so, you know, if a tornado's come through in 6 minutes, it could be gone. Then about, what was it, 5 or 6 weeks ago, that we had the cell phone outage for like 4 or 5 hours, and some people's landlines were out. So I was thinking that if we had like, I talked to Jack Hannon, Jacksboro has that, just the horn that sounds, you know, in the city. Of course, it'd have to be in a strategic location to where it could get out, you know.
Who shuts
Eddie?
that thing off?
I think he probably could research this a little bit for us. I talked to Todd Overdale a little bit when I tried to call him, and I ended up talking to Charlie Hudson at 911. And he also said there was a code red system, but that code red system uses telephones, whatever. But if we could get quotes or something, just to see, I would like for us to have something for our city, you know, and if people's out yard working or whatever, and you don't have your phone, but you might be able to hear, it might save, you know, it'd be worth it to save 1 life, 2 lives. I mean, if we had a disaster on the interstate, you know, you could have more than one horn sound for, you know, like if there's a major disaster, or a spill on the interstate or something, it sounds like this. And then if it's a storm or a tornado, it sounds like this. Just a warning system.
Well, you're gonna have
somebody,
horns around, the area is so big, your town is so big that you would have to have one, it's not, unlike Jacksboro's,
Now, we'd need somebody to have a study of that
because Jacksboro is sort of condensed, and we're spread out, and it would take several.
This wouldn't be a good place, but I don't know, that vocational school, somewhere where it would, I don't know, where it would have to be. That would have to be somebody that's got expertise in that to figure that out. Will you take that on, Eddie, and see what you can find out?
I'll see who Jacksboro got theirs from and see.
Todd
if they
Overbay,
can-
I think Jack said he was the one that installed it, I think. But
Yeah. But the companies, you know, like you say, we need somebody to come in here and say, you need 2, 3.
Right, somebody to
way
evaluate
the
the
city's spread
situation.
out and everything, you know.
Would
Right.
FEMA come do that? FEMA?
I doubt it.
There has to be somebody out there that could come.
The
and-
companies that sell them, good possibility, could, I don't know. The fire department, Jacksboro sets theirs off.
I know, I think he said something about, somebody was telling me about something about it tied in with NOAA radio system some way, or,
I really don't know how it works.
okay,
I know they can set them off with their radios up
okay.
there.
I mean, I just think we need something.
Does Apollo have one?
Yes, one. It's on the top of the fire hall.
I was told theirs did not go out in some areas like it should, that it was not effective as what it could be if it was in a different location, or maybe they might need more than one also, but.
Years ago, we used to have one, and Eddie can remember it, but it just, unless you was right here, you could, like, you could only hear it here, because, it did not live there. Lord couldn't hear it over his house. It went off the.
We could hear sirens on before, police or ambulance, but when they come through here, it blocks everything off of us.
Well, that's why he was saying it might need to be somewhere away from here. For some reason, he knew that probably here wouldn't be the best place for it when I talked to
We
Charlie.
had somebody getting going higher up.
Well, yeah, we put it up on the ridge.
You
Near
put it
his
in my
place.
backyard and I'll charge you rent.
If you put it up there at my place, you're still not gonna get over a lot of the places, you're not going, you're gonna miss the valleys and.
So you got an Asbury ball field and you got the water tank up on Patty Hill up there.
In a higher location.
I mean, that's just my guess. You know, these companies that put them
Yeah.
in, they could probably tell you how far they'll
Research the
reach.
area and see how far, where the best location
The
is.
water tank would be a good place.
Yeah.
And Asbury ball field, you know, it's kind of
It
similar.
will also bouncing off the mountains too.
That's just my thought. I don't know about.
So, what's your pleasure, Chief?
You would be the one that have to sound it off though, Eddie.
My pleasure is to have Eddie to check into it.
I can get some information, you know.
Okay, bring it back to this next meeting maybe, and I'll try to research some too on it.
So we don't need no action,
I guess we're taking the action, let's just get information.
discuss. Okay, we're going to trunk or treat. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what y'all have done in the past, so does anybody else know?
Give out candy
Okay.
at the bottom, in front of Scotty's, right on that. And my parents loved it.
Who purchases that
And
candy?
CD,
How much?
a lot, it was like $300 or $400.
Do you buy bags to put it in?
No.
This thing has bags, just.
Laura must have got it or something.
But if it's like the fall, if they just, people set up over there and just hand out candy.
So,
It's nice, I think
And
that,
if you have too much, they can always use it in the
that you'll get in here.
Christmas parade.
Okay, so we just probably should go to buy candy.
Lots of it. Well, don't they have it in their budget
We
already?
didn't even, we didn't even vote on it.
No.
It's
Is
less
that in
than
my
five.
budget?
It's $500.
Police department's budget.
Police department?
Pat, did they
Talk
not
to
pay
the
that on
outside
police
of you there.
department?
I think it's under just general government or industrial. I don't know. I'll have to look.
I know, so much of it.
I
Too bad.
should listen out because we don't have.
I know they took out stuff to buy for Carol School and stuff for these pages.
Yeah.
Too long time ago.
On this.
Okay, this is my next question, since I don't know nothing about it. Do we sit out there and do it? Who hands the
Last
candy?
year, the police department set up, I mean, she said over,
Any
Chevy set
business
up
places that wanted to come and be a part of it, or
And
any
you gave out candy to
Fire
them?
department usually.
No, they brought their own, the other
And I
business
think
places.
Lisa sent out letters to like some of the businesses.
Yeah, and asked them to be.
Ask them if
We
they
used to send
would.
a truck over, don't we, truck or
You
treat?
took a place.
And I think, Shoney's, they set up over last year.
Do we have a mailing of like, the city businesses and like, just the
I can
city?
get you address.
Just send something out, just,
There's a lot of places over in Hot Town.
Want to be involved.
I'm here to sit up over there.
I'm sure part of that Ian would come and do something, because he is
It's
really,
really nice.
several of the businesses in the community would, there's a lot in that where you could just,
Get somebody from up at the Hampton. We decorate your signs. I expect every one of them to be over there next to me.
I gotta take my little one out too, gotta take my little one
I'm
out.
just gonna set mine
It
free.
was cold and rainy last year, remember?
Yeah, it was.
Cold and rainy last
Yeah.
year.
Okay, so, all right.
It's fine.
I think the fire department set over with lights and stuff.
I believe they helped them with traffic and stuff, so.
It's a big turnout to it over there. It has been the last couple of years, it's been a large turnout.
Advertised.
So that's where.
I can do that, if nothing else.
And I could do the fire.
Right place to advertise.
I will go around to businesses.
Yeah. It's just sign up on your front door over there.
I have a fence, I can put it on.
So this would be the third year.
Third annual. There you go.
Run it on the green screen. Community, event. Usually it's community, I don't know, I looked on maintenance groups, because we only have to play, and I think, I don't know, my old Kelly Wilson was the first headline thing on there, and I put your when I was done now. That's what it said, the first story.
Beth, you have anything else on this?
No, not, we don't have to vote for no, to purchase it, no.
Okay.
And I'll do flyers, so.
You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I hear a second. We are adjourned. Everybody say aye.
Oh, we got to do 14.
No, don't leave, got a beer board meeting.
Unless you need something, we will do.
Oh, here's the, that's what he's wanting.
No, I got two things to ask.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead and do the beer board now. We'll talk about it.
Okay. You wanna go ahead, everybody ready for the beer board?
Yes.
I call the beer board in order. Call the rock roll.
Okay, Ms. Heather.
Here.
Mr. Edson.
Here.
Beth Lawson.
Here.
Mr. Gibson.
Yes.
Mr. Will Lawson.
Here.
Ms. Mary Smith.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we are here to consider the name change of Rocky Top Market, number 919, located at 120 John McGee Boulevard, Caryville, Tennessee, 37714. The owner's name is changed from, is it Lehigh?
Lehigh.
Guys, Ohio LLC to Dunn Manning Stores LLC.
The Rocky Top will stay the same. will just be the owners.
The new police department,
There's a letter.
on the way.
That's right.
Is this just a name change?
Yes.
So, this is an off.
Yes. It is retail carryover.
There's 3 guys that own this. A lady.
I'll have to get that with you. I think probably 5. But I think it's Bandy Richmond is the manager. And he did a background check on all of them.
So what is the pleasure of the board?
So we're just changing the name of the,
It's just changing hands, basically.
I make a motion, we do the name change.
I did too. I just checked them out, they're good. I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Have any questions, comments?
Ms. Heather?
Yes.
Mr. Everett? Steph Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilmot?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Yes. Is any other business for the bid board? I hear a motion to adjourn. There a second? I'll say aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Me?